Welcome, everyone, to another edition of Most Self-Improved. I am Bhavana Chilukuri, and I'm here with my co-host, Erin, Jensen.
Hi.
For season 2, instead of discussing self-improvement books, which we still love.
We love you guys. We don't think you guys loved. We don't think anyone was reading. Correct us if we're wrong. We loved it. You didn't love it.
We did. But we're excited to be chatting with therapists, leaders in the wellness space, and just other folks that are helping people understand how to live their best lives.
I feel like it's like our podcast got bangs, It's like we got bangs. Like that's what I feel like it is.
Was that a good idea? That's what I always say.
That's a very good point.
We want to find fulfillment, peace, and joy in life. That's why we started this podcast. And we want to help all of you do it too. We are so excited to have Kerry Biskelonis to chat with us today. Kerry is a therapist and founder of an integrated wellness and counseling practice called Reset Brain and Body. And she's giving us all the tools and tips for starting and sticking to a morning routine. I need this so badly.
What was your morning routine? What did it look like today?
I was really good last night. I actually put my cell phone outside of the bedroom. You know how you're supposed to do that?
I'm going to make this clap bigger. Post-production.
So I did that and I was like, okay, well, I'm not going to be distracted. And then, I don't know, I kind of woke up around 4:30. And instead of going back to sleep, I was like, why don't I go get my phone and see what's happening? So I did that, brought it back in, and then at 9 o'clock, I was still in the bed scrolling, texting you, actually.
Love it. So working. We'll call that work.
Yeah. Then I got up in a hurry and showered right before this. So that's what it looks like. What about you? You were actually up early.
So I woke up this morning. I did some work on the podcast, and I had kind of fallen off with my whole meditation and then do 5 things I'm grateful for, and then 5 things I would like to come to fruition. So of course I did that today because I knew I was going to be asked about it. So meditated, moment of gratitude, things that I wanted to do. And then because of the timing of this podcast, I couldn't go to my normal workout class. So I did a 30-minute strength class on the Peloton. I have not yet had my combination of muscle milk and coffee and supplements and vitamins. So who knows how this episode will go. But moral of the story, we've got room for improvement, opportunities for growth, as they say.
Mm-hmm. I feel like you actually had a really good point. You're just missing your muscle milk. But yeah, no, there's definitely room for improvement. Let's get to it. Hello, Kerry. How are you doing today? We're excited to have you here today.
Hi. Yeah, so excited to be here. I'm doing great.
Awesome. Before we get into morning routines, we'd love for you to tell us a bit about yourself and why you do the work that you do.
Great question. So I actually started in corporate human resources, and I was working for big companies, startup companies, and seeing so many people just unhappy, burned out, so stressed. And I realized HR was not the place where I could help people. And so I went back to grad school and started doing counseling work with these professionals. And that really became my demographic that I felt like I was able to see them and see their experiences and help them with just that type A, busy, workhorse, perfectionist mentality and still find peace and resilience and calm. And at the same time I was in grad school, I was practicing yoga to handle the stress of being in grad school full-time, working full-time, paying for grad school, and realizing, what I'm experiencing in my body, what I'm experiencing in the yoga studio has so much synergy with what I'm learning about in grad school. And I don't believe there's another way that I can go about this. And so ever since I started my practice 10 years ago, yoga, meditation, mindfulness has been embedded in everything. And only now somatic work has gotten so buzzy, which is wonderful. But back when I started my practice in Chicago, I was one of 3 practitioners integrating yoga into mental health care.
I just want to shout out your Psychology Today profile because obviously we do our research here. And I just want to say that I love that you say, quote, while I have fun towing the line with the woo-woo, I am deeply grounded in research-supported clinical experiences and a decade of corporate leadership roles. So I love that because sometimes you hear things and people are like, energy, blah, blah, and you're like, okay. So I love that you acknowledge some things are a little woo-woo, but they're still beneficial and they're great. So I just loved that. Had to shout that out.
Good. I'm glad. Thank you.
Why is having a morning routine important? What are the benefits?
So the thing is that a morning routine to me is if you get it done in the morning, you're guaranteed to get it done, right? Because life happens and things come up throughout the day. All of us that have ever said, I'll go to yoga at night or I'll go work out at night. And like, nope, not happening. So the morning is kind of like, okay, this is the time I can actually get it done. But I want to reframe it a little bit and talk about just a sacred hour for yourself. And that if you aren't a morning person and you are consistent in the evening or in the middle of the day, when I was in corporate world, I'd go work out during lunch and that was my window. But either way, a sacred hour in which you are cueing to yourself, I matter. And so whenever I work with clients,
I don't want to interrupt, but that is a big thing because you're on Instagram and you're scrolling and you're like, my morning routine is my skincare and it's about a look or my morning, whatever. Can you please emphasize again how you're saying you matter to yourself?
A sacred hour is a confirmation to ourselves that we matter. I matter. I am a priority. My well-being matters. I am worth my own time. And so when we carve out that space and in that routine, right, you can determine what that looks like. For me, it's always exercise and meditation, journaling, some sort of contemplation. But for other people, it might be doing art or reading in their favorite book or walking their dog or spending an hour in the bath. It doesn't matter what it is. It matters that you show up for yourself, ideally every single day, and you honor that commitment to yourself, which then also builds your own confidence of, oh, wow, I matter. I'm putting myself first. I'm showing up for myself. And how good does that feel to do that on a routine basis?
That is like such a shift. And I think how many people think about this time, which is like it's kind of a to-do list of like, okay, let me get these things done and then I'll feel better about myself if I do the mask or do the things that I'm supposed to do. So I love the reframe of it being time for you. What have you noticed that it does for your family, your work, your life?
I have 2 little kids, husband, dog, house, business, all of it, right? If I don't take care of myself, I am not good to other people. And I recognize a slippery slope to people pleasing and putting other people's needs above my own that is in misalignment with my values. I'm a helping person, obviously, as a therapist, but if I don't take care of myself first, ground myself, right, work through my own shit, how can I really show up for other people in an authentic and centered way?
I don't have kids. I'm not married, so I only have to worry about myself. Bob's has a man. We're not allowed to use his real name on the podcast, but I was sitting there as I listened to my meditation this morning. I was like, if I had a kid kicking me in their sleep, a husband who's like, can you please turn that off? How do you get it done having the husband and the kids?
Yeah. You get used to waking up really early. Really. Like I wish I had a better answer.
Okay, got to do it before they're awake.
So funny because before when I was going through things, one of my questions was going to be like, okay, Bob's and I have talked about this for everything that we're supposed to be doing, 15-step skincare routine, spiritual practice, meditation, journaling, completing whatever your side hustle is. We would get up at midnight. So one of my questions was going to be, is there any other way to do it besides getting up earlier? But so no, it's just what it is.
Well, and you figure it out too, right? There are plenty of days where my kids were up 5 times in the middle of the night. I'm like, I'm not waking up at 5. It's just not happening. But then because I know what it feels like to miss that sacred hour, I figure out a way to get it done throughout the day. I carve out that hour in one way or another. And I just have to grab the opportunity, not wait for permission. That's huge when you have a family, or even if you're working, you don't wait for someone to say, it's okay. You can go take that hour for yourself now. No one will ever give it to you, ever. You have to really grab it.
And I know you're saying hour. Can it be a little less than? Can it be more than? Like, is 60 like a good golden rule for you?
Of course it can be less. It just feels really good when you have a whole hour, right? Like to me, I'm like, ooh, I can do a half-hour workout and meditate and go in my sauna and do a little bit of journaling And it's like, oh, okay, I feel complete. But of course, there's days when it's 20 minutes.
Yeah.
But it all depends on like, what is the thing that matters to you that you do in that sacred time?
Yeah. Sacred 10 minutes doesn't have the same ring to it. Sacred hour.
It doesn't feel very sacred.
For folks that are out there trying to figure out like what works for them, how would you suggest going about finding the thing that sets you up for the day? How'd you do that for yourself?
I started doing this probably 12 or 15 years ago, really having a steady practice. And what I'd always come back to is, what is the favorite version of myself? And if I think about the favorite version of myself, like what has she done that day? And not the best version, because I think those of us that are type A perfectionists, there's always a better. We can always think that we could do better. But what's my favorite? Like, okay, my favorite version is that she slowed down. She was out in nature. She connected to her thoughts and kind of downloaded. She connected to something bigger than herself. She moved her body in a way that made her feel strong and confident.
That's awesome.
And then I put that into practices. What does that look like then?
Yeah.
We're like speechless after you finish talking. It takes us a minute to absorb it. Like, that is so good. Because I type A here, if you haven't figured that out, on a podcast called Most Self-Improved. But but yeah, what is my favorite version of me? I love that. I love that so
much. And the
much.
favorite versus best, like the distinction
exactly.
feels super important. And in your blog, you wrote about how you once tried to make that 6 a.m. workout part of your routine and it just didn't work. And you're like, this is something I have to do, but it wasn't working. Can you share a bit about that experience and what you learned from it? And asking as someone who's always been jealous of those women who make the 6 a.m. workout happen.
Right. Well, here's the thing. If we continually force things that aren't for us, we'll come up against resistance and we wonder why we can't stick to it. And so when we find the things that work for us, and recognizing that there's different seasons of life, that looks different. So a 6 a.m. workout might feel feasible at a certain time of your life, but then other times of your life, it's like, I'm in the basement with the Peloton instructors and that's it, right? And so for me, it's always checking in with like, what is my body craving right now in this season? And is it long baths? Is it long walks? Is it weightlifting? Is it getting out of the house because I feel like I need community? But knowing that the rigidity of same thing every single day denies ourselves from our intuition. And recognizing the difference between intuition and instinct, because the instinct is I'm snoozing. I'm not doing this. I have too much work to do. People need me. Intuition is pausing, breathing. What do I need?
And can you talk then about rigidity and routine? Because I feel like we've read James Clear's Atomic Habits, and it's like you get to this point where it's just so automatic because the less you're thinking about it, the less resistance there is. So the way you say we don't want it to be rigid, but we're calling it, like a morning routine. I'm just curious about that a little bit.
Yeah, for sure. So I think that it comes down to those elements that are important to you. So again, for me, my morning routine, I know involves movement and contemplation. But what that is inside of that container can be intuitively driven. So one day it's like, okay, for me, I use my Peloton, right? And I'm like, okay, I think it's Pilates today. That's what feels good today. Or I know I'm doing this boot camp series. So that's what I'm doing today. Or it's yoga. And then for meditation, I don't go to an app and scroll for 10 minutes to try and find the right thing. I'm trained in a certain type of meditation, so I know that's what I drop into. But whether I do 20 minutes or 5 minutes is kind of based on what do I need today? Because I actually think I need more time journaling than being in meditation. So you have the elements that you know are yours and make you feel like your favorite self, but you allow yourself to be fluid within that.
I love that. And then for starting this routine for you specifically, did you build it over time? Because I know some people find success when we introduce small things into the routine.
Absolutely. So I think it comes back to, again, of what is the thing that once you start doing it, you don't want to do without. And then you start layering that and layering that. So I know for me, when I first had kids, I couldn't get to a yoga studio anymore, but I could meditate for 10 minutes in the morning. And then I layered that with, okay, I love that. Now I want to journal. And now, okay, I can't go on my long walks anymore, but I can do 30 minutes at home. And then I'm layering that. And then you start to just realize again, oh, when I don't have it, how do I feel? When I don't do these things for myself, how do I feel? And that allows us to remember and really affirm the practices and come back to it.
Yeah, it seems like it's like a process of trial and error and just being really kind with yourself rather than trying to throw every. Same as with Erin. I'm trying to be like, okay, starting tomorrow, we're going to do this 2-hour thing and change.
Kind and connected, like Kerry is saying, of what do we need? Love it.
Well, and it's so important not to listen to the noise about what you should be doing, right? We go on social media, we go on TikTok, and this is the best morning routine, and these are the things you need to do. And it's so overwhelming. And there's way too much that we're consuming. And what you're going to stick to is the thing that comes from within. And so the more that you get in touch with that, the more it's going to feel like you can be consistent because it's authentically driven.
Love it.
Absolutely. I had a question on what you said around instinct and intuition, because I think that is so important. You know, there's all these voices in your head and you're like, actually, which one is my actual intuition and which one is just keeping me stuck in a rut? And how do I know what's what? When we read Atomic Habits, there was a whole section on slipping up and giving into that instinct without listening to your intuition of, hey, you know, you really want to build this long-term practice, but you're letting those daily instincts of pressing the snooze button get in the way. So how do you help yourself, help your clients tap into the intuition and help folks get beyond that?
Instinct is generally noisy, louder, quicker, a little bit more badgering, right? It's trying to get your attention. It's impulsive in a way that it is short lasting. Ooh, I'm feeling a threat. Ooh, I'm feeling uncomfortable. No, stop, go away. No, I don't want to do this, right? And if we can allow that to ride for 90 seconds, and I'm not talking about the moments when you need to look both ways when you're crossing the street, right? I'm talking about I want to press snooze. If you can hold that for 90 seconds, hold that feeling. And I know, and I get it, right? Especially the snooze. It's like, I'm half asleep. But if you apply this to other things, right? I have a moment, I have an hour, I have my emails building up. My instinct is saying, just work, get it done, because it feels like a threat coming at you, right? If I don't get this done, then what? But if you can hold space for 90 seconds and then start to listen to the quiet. Intuition is quiet and subtle. It's gentle. It's kind. It's usually the one that's saying, hey, remember, you want to take care of yourself. That stuff can wait. You're going to be okay. And so we have to sit in the discomfort of the instinct, that temptation, that impulse to get into tuition. And most people, 90 seconds is intolerable.
Yeah, that feels long.
Right?
Yes, it does.
So much of my work with clients and what we do, we scaffold. Can you sit for 30 seconds? What about 45? Let's move up to 90. Okay, now that we've gotten to 90 seconds, do you notice a shift?
What are we sitting with in the 90 seconds? We're saying, this is what, that I'm supposed to be doing this, or if I don't do this, how will I feel? What are we sitting with in the 90 seconds?
Okay, so let's think about an example. Tell me like an urge that you would have typically.
I don't have it really anymore, but I think before, when my 7:15 a.m. workout class was not so much a part of my routine, then yeah, it's easy when the alarm goes off at 6:30 and you're like, okay, well, I can cancel before 6:45 and I don't get charged. So do we want to do it or do we not?
So the urge is that
sleep. I want to sleep.
Yeah, I want to sleep, right? And so recognizing that there is a part of you that is trying to protect you and say, no, it's good to sleep. Rest more. You're so busy. You work so hard. You've earned sleeping in. Okay, can I be observing of that dialogue for at least 90 seconds? To not just give in right away, but challenge a little bit. Or let's say if it's not the snooze button and that urge, it's a thought of, I don't have time for this. I have a meeting or I have emails. I don't have time. Okay. Can I get curious about that? What am I really afraid of? And actually, I probably do have time, but I need to just pause and be with that thought, that urge, that temptation, that anxiety to then get to the truth.
I feel like that's so important because most of us don't stop enough to challenge or observe anything that's going on. So you're kind of just moving on autopilot most of the time. And then you're at the end of the year and you're like, oh, I didn't achieve like any. I said I was going to do these things this year, but I didn't do it because like you're not pausing to override that instinct. And it's not something we're taught to do, right? I think it's something we really have to learn to do.
Yeah, like Kerry's saying, it's like, if I were to do that, the decision has been made. I'm not thinking about it. I'm going back to sleep. If I were forced to sit there for 90 seconds and be like, get up, you know, you're going to like yourself, get up. You know, the right decision. That would be torturous. So yeah, I changed my mind.
Yeah, it's not comfortable. That's why no one does it.
And
absolutely.
How can our audience start building a morning routine? Where do you start?
So it starts at bedtime. And I'm sure you've heard this before. It starts with, am I getting to bed at the same time every night? What am I doing that gets in the way of good sleep hygiene? Am I bringing my phone in the bed with me? Am I working really late on my laptop? Am I binge watching a show? Am I drinking alcohol? Am I staying up too late? Doing whatever, right? So having a consistent bedtime sets you up for success in the morning. And you really have to evaluate, what does that nighttime ritual and patterns look like? And are you setting appropriate boundaries with yourself to honor the commitment that you really want to follow through on the next day?
And Kerry, I have to be honest, as you're saying that, you're like, no binge watching, no alcohol. I'm like, there's no fun. Like, to me, like, how do we,
right?
How do we because that is it. It's like, do you want to be a bore and go to bed at 8:30 and wake up at 5:30 and do all the things you're supposed to be doing? Or do you want to watch one more episode? You know, like that feels in the moment more fun. So how do we reframe that?
My gosh. I love that you asked that, because that was literally my meditation this morning. And what came to me was like the magic of the monotony. And there really is magic in the monotony, because the monotony is life. We as humans are always looking for a quick fix, an escape, and the next pleasurable experience to get our dopamine fix. And that's not life. That's not real living. The monotony of waking up every morning, recognizing, oh gosh, I have health and I have a home and the sky is blue and the birds are chirping and I get to live this life, is where we really find the ability to be joyful in every present moment and not just keep avoiding and escaping and reaching for the most interesting, shiny object available to us. And so when you start practicing consistency and boring routines, you realize that there's so much more available to you that you are denying yourself by just reaching for pleasure.
I love that. Okay, so I'm a good girl. I turned off the TV in this example. We're not going to say this is real life, but I've turned off the TV. I'm ready to go. I'm doing my morning workouts. Sometimes I like to mix strength and I like to mix Pilates. The strength classes are in the morning. The Pilates classes are at night. How can you have a consistent morning routine if the things that you like to do are not always consistent at the same time?
So if you're used to waking up at a certain time every day and going to bed at a certain time every day, what else can you do for yourself in the morning? So maybe if it's not working out during that hour or whatever amount of time you allocated for yourself, it's reading a book or catching up on your journaling or writing emails to friends or, something else that feels for you. Because that's the part that you're honoring every day, is this is for me. And I'm putting my needs first.
Well, that sounds easy. I like that. For me, it really throws a kink in it, because then I feel like I have energy in the morning. And then, like you said, life gets in the way. So am I getting to the Pilates class at 5:30? So it's,
right. Well, and checking in. Does that really work for you? Or could you just do a YouTube Pilates class in the morning?
I know, but I like the community. I like the community of the studio. I really do.
Yeah.
But no, it's a good option for sure.
You write that your life has changed by embracing slow. I love that. And I also think it's really hard to do in today's world. And particularly over the last 20, 30 years, as we've gotten the smartphones and the tech and all of this stuff. Can you share more about how you did this?
One of the biggest things I've done is I don't have my work email on my phone. And it was accidental. I somehow locked myself out and I can't even get in to my Google Workspace.
That's the best way to do it.
Yeah. Even if I tried, and trust me, I have tried, but not having work email on my phone is a game changer. I have 0 notifications on my phone. My phone sleeps in my kitchen, so I don't even look at it in the morning. And on the best mornings, I am going straight down to my basement. It's not glamorous, but without any technology, because I don't need it for that time. And so just my own relationship with my device has been transformative. And we talk about this a lot at our practice and with our community, is how to be more mindful with our devices. But giving yourself a cleanse from that incoming barrage of information and people that need you is so precious, because it's on your timeline then. I also leave my phone on Do Not Disturb 24/7.
Ooh.
I do that too. And Erin is I know you like to text. I know you're waiting for the text back. But see,
well, because sometimes
sometimes
there's important things. I just thought you were a bad texter. I didn't know it was on Do Not Disturb.
It's always on Do Not Disturb.
That's so funny. You say your phone sleeps in the kitchen. I'm like, that phone is eating in the kitchen. It has the fridge open at midnight. The light is on. And I know we kind of addressed this before, but just to clearly ask it, our audience has figured out what is important to them, has designed this beautiful sacred hour. Life gets in the way. You miss one, you miss two. How do you not feel bad and get right back into it?
Compassion, grace, not being judgmental of yourself. Of course, life happens, things come up. But again, if you are in a consistent routine of honoring yourself and your needs, you're going to know what it feels like when you don't. And so you're going to fight to get back there. It's going to matter enough to you because you've demonstrated that you matter.
How can we truly know if we are honoring and knowing ourselves?
Yeah, it's such a good question. And I think we have so many clients that sit across from us and say, I don't even know who I am. I don't even know what I like. And so it is a process of peeling back. What are the masks? What are the behaviors? What are the parts that we've put on in order to survive in this world? Are those authentic to us or not? And then once we really start to get in relation, get curious, observe, we're able to realize, oh, okay, this is actually who I am. But it takes time. It takes work. It's not like you can just flip on the switch and like, I'm authentic now. No, it doesn't work that way. I wish, but
that's amazing.
Part of it is really getting curious.
Bobs, do you have any more questions about morning routines? I feel like that was such a good conversation.
There were so many good tidbits in there. I think the one question is there anything else you think our audience should know as they build their own sacred hour, their time where they matter and they're thinking about their favorite version of themselves?
So I watched this hilarious video my sister sent me on TikTok yesterday, and I'm not on TikTok, but this was funny. And this girl shows up to therapy and she goes, so I've done all the research and I know all the different types of therapy. So I want to know, how can you help me? Because I just want to know the why. I want to get to the root. And the therapist asked, well, where do you feel that in your body? And how do you move through that emotion? And the girl, she was stunned. And so what I offer to your audience is the answers are not outside of yourself. Stop looking outside of yourself to know exactly what to do. You can listen to beautiful resources and get inspiration like this podcast, but then you have to drop in, get quiet. What is my favorite version of me? What makes me feel alive? What makes me feel strong and proud of myself? What is mine versus what is an expectation put upon me? And really be contemplative. And that itself could be a daily practice until you arrive at something that feels worth fighting for every day.
Yeah, we are definitely going to keep that at the end of the podcast so they can listen to the whole thing and be like, I didn't need to do that. All I had to do was drop in. What is your favorite version of you is my new favorite question. I think that's going to be so helpful for people. I love that.
Yeah.
What do you think, Bubs? Right?
Really, I have to think about it. Honestly, I'm like, I don't know. So I'm like, that is a great question.
Don't you think? I feel like they should start that in like elementary school. You like draw yourself as a kid, and it's like, but what's your favorite version? Like, I think that would be a really cute way to start.
And it's usually so simple and innocent, right? And then it's really precious.
And then we kind of lose it somewhere along the way. Well, Kerry, thank you so much for being here with us today. We know our audience got so much out of this, and we really appreciate you sharing your wisdom and practice of a sacred hour with us.
Thank you both. It was a pleasure.
Thank you, Kerry. I love this. I was like, wait, people need to hear this. This is so good. We're so appreciative. This is today's sacred 37 minutes in my book. I think this is really good.
Well, thank you everyone for tuning in. If you loved what you heard today, go ahead and click that subscribe button, leave a review, and share it with a friend. Stay tuned into all of our learning and fun by following us on Instagram at Most Self Improved, all one word. And thank you again for being with us today. We hope you have a great week and enjoyed hearing from Kerry. Start building that sacred hour and thinking about who your favorite self is. We are going to do the same.
God, please let us know if you're like, it's a very intimate question, but if you're
is, right?
Yeah, we haven't had anyone to talk about healthy boundaries. So if you're like me and unaware, please tell us something even teeny tiny about your favorite version of yourself. I love that. Ooh, do you want to share real quick before we go? One teeny tiny thing about your most favorite self?
Oh my gosh. I feel like there's definitely been days where I don't leave the house and I don't feel like my favorite self those days. So this is very small, but my favorite self has sunshine every day on her face.
I love that.
Sunshine on the face.
Every day. I love that. I love that so much.
What about you?
Mine, I feel like there's a noticeable shift sometimes when I walk into the room and have no energy. And then when you walk into the room and it's a really good day and you're like, Susan, how's that thing? You know, it's like, how's your dog? Is your dog good? Your hair looks great. And you're like radiating the positivity and the kindness and the care and the consideration. It's one component of my favorite.
One component. Love that. So that sounds like a great self to have around. Let us know what you all think. What's your favorite self doing right now? Where is she?
Oh God, I love that.
Where is she hanging out? Leave that in the comments and we will see you next time. Bye.
Bye.